Hey guys, so I'm getting contacted quite a lot with people that are struggling, and I wanted to give out some advice on people that are going through a hard time, or if they don't have a great self-image, is the best way to explain it. I think a lesson that I learned in the last 5, 6 years is definitely understanding that every word that you say possesses power. And when you talk out into the universe, I believe that I talk to the universe every single time I say something. So if you talk to the universe will pay you back however you speak to it. And there was a study recently on this that I saw it on Instagram. So I haven't really looked into it, but it kind of, even if it's true or if it's false, it doesn't really matter. It just is the idea of it that I thought was super interesting. And it's to do with a man in Japan that speaks to a bowl of rice. Maybe you've seen it. There's 3 bowls of rice, and he speaks negatively to one, he speaks normally to another, and he speaks very, very positively to the last one. And you can guess how it goes. Like the negative one molds and grows like moldy and horrible and disgusting. The one that is in the middle, I think it ferments, or it kind of looks like it stays stagnant, and then the last one stays pure and stays good. And I think it's over a 30-day period. Don't know how true that is, doesn't matter. It's the ideology of it, or the metaphor for it. And I think our self-talk and the way that we talk to ourselves about ourselves in public, or just in our own minds, I think people don't understand the power of it. I've gone completely off the point of what I was going to talk about with the video, but it's fine. So like when I started changing the way that I perceived myself and I spoke about myself, and I think being British or being English, we have a culture that is very self-deprecating. Like we have self-deprecating humor. Even my fight name, my nickname as a fighter. I'll tell the story about how I got my nickname, and then you kind of explain my point. My nickname was the Big Slow, because I'm big and I'm slow. That didn't mean that I was physically slow. It actually was talking about my mentality, that I was mentally slow. And that came because 2 people that I used to train with, the first day I trained with them, they're English gypsies, if anyone knows what that is, but they have like their own language. So imagine 2 people standing here talking to me across from me, and what they were talking about me to me, but they were speaking a language that I didn't understand. And I was just looking at them like, what are you guys talking about? And one of them said to me, look at him, he's big and he's slow. He's the Big Slow. And it comes from pro wrestling, a guy called Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. They had it with The Big Show. They used to call The Big Show The Big Slow. So it was like, I didn't know that at the time, but that was a reference. But they called me The Big Slow. And then they didn't even know my name, because I went training there for I trained there for years and years and years, and they became some of my best training partners. But at the time, I was about 6 months in, and they didn't even know my name. They just called me the Big Slow, or Big Slow, or Biggs, or whatever. And I decided to make that my nickname to try and gain power over it, because they were saying it to me as kind of like an insult, even though it wasn't. It was endearing in a way, because it was like a nickname, but it was a negative connotation nickname. And I took it on, and I fought my whole career under the name The Big Slow, because an original insult happened to me, and I tried to flip it and take the power out of it and utilize it. And it became my moniker on my name and all that sort of stuff. And anytime everybody asked me about it, it sounds silly even talking about it, but I just thought that was an important thing to do. I really, now looking back, I understand I made it a positive thing, and I turned the Big Slow into a positive thing. For me, it had positive connotations, because I think it was a friendship thing, but I understand now how negative it seems to everybody else. And that's what I'm saying about English people having like a self-deprecating humor, because I thought it was funny. And then people will make jokes about themselves in a negative light. And I stopped doing that completely a few years back, and my mentality completely changed. And I understood how powerful that can be, because so many people don't understand that. And that again comes back to this Japanese study, like the power of the words that you say to the universe affects how the rice ended up. And that affects how you're going to end up, the way that you're communicating to yourself, not just out loud, but internally. And another story, I recently, last year, maybe a year ago, I lost my voice. I do commentary, obviously do a lot of content. I talk a lot. I do a lot of meetups, and I do a lot of like events where I talk and public speaking. And in a space of a week, I did 2 public speaking events that lasted 3 days each. I made a load of content. I also got very, 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 very drunk and got a bit sick. And I also did 2 commentary events. So in the space of 7 days, I worked like a madman. And I I got like a scar or a polyp or something on my vocal cords. So I had to have an operation. I had this operation. And then from having this operation, they cut out the polyp and I couldn't speak for 2 weeks, like not a word. I wasn't allowed to say a single word while it healed. And I believed that I had cultivated an extremely positive mind by this stage of my life. I believed my mind was so positive that negativity bounces off me. I'm a positive person. I'm not affected by anything. I have a bulletproof mind, and no one can affect me because I'd cultivated that way through fighting and through my life, and I'm a very positive person. And then when I couldn't speak for 2 weeks, I realized that the reason I have a bulletproof mind, the reason no one could affect me, the reason that I don't care about other people's opinions and all these things was because of the things that I was saying every single day. Because me talking aloud was directing my mind. So every phone call I had, I also do affirmations in the morning. So I wake up and I say 10 phrases, positively reaffirming my life. And I've been doing that for many, many years. But I couldn't do that because I couldn't speak. So I then realized that my actions, the words that I used and how I spoke really affected the way I was living my life and the way that I viewed myself. So that was a real poignant moment to me that showed the power and the magic of speaking, and some people go really deep into words and really deep into language. And you talk about the word spelling and they say like spell, you're casting a spell every time you write a word. And I believe you're casting a spell every time you say a word. So if you're sitting there and you're struggling with life and you're looking at life in a negative frame and you're thinking badly about yourself and you think, I wish I was like this or I should be like, every time you say something bad about yourself, you're just reaffirming that negative thing. And it sounds like a bit woo-woo and a bit crazy, but I think when you start to embody this and think about it and you look at yourself positively, I don't mean lie to yourself. I don't mean pretend, even though you can do that if it brings you power. I got no problem with that whatsoever. But I mean, if you just analyze daily what you're saying to yourself and you just make a note of it every time you make a negative comment, you can understand how much you're impacting your life, right? And I'll come back to the whole point at the beginning. If you're struggling and you're messaging me, because I get a lot of messages about people that are struggling. If you're messaging me that you're struggling, just by sending me that message saying, I need help, I'm struggling, that is already 2 negative spells or negative phrases that you are putting out into the universe, telling me that you're struggling. Okay, I know some people are and they need help. That's fine. But it really has to be very, very poignant to be at that stage. So what I like to do when I'm having a bit of a downtime or I'm feeling a little bit low is I like to zoom out on my life and look at, I have a very, very clear picture of the man that I want to become. That helps to start with. So if you don't have that picture of the man that you want to become, you need to cultivate that picture. But I have a very, very clear image of that. And then I have a very, very clear image, obviously, of who I was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. So I like to zoom my life out over a 10, 20-year period and think about the man that I was. And 10 years ago or 20 years ago, who was the man that I wanted to become and how much closer have I got to that person? If the answer is 0 and you've gone backwards, okay, then you have a right to be in a negative space and you need to work out what you need to do to achieve that. And it should inspire you to change the course that you're on and make changes in your life. If you're struggling, but you're struggling because of X, Y, and Z, and you look back at your life and you've gone nowhere in 10 years, then come on, bro, you need to sort your life out. There's no more advice than that. It's just, okay, you're struggling. This is what you need to do. Go down this path, change something, take the leap of faith, do something different. Like, you can't get more advice than that. You have to think, you rely on yourself 100%. When you take full responsibility and you stop thinking that other people are going to change your life and you think, I'm going to make that change to my life, then you understand that you need to go down a new path. For me, normally what happens, because I'm constantly working my ass off like crazy, doing new things, traveling the world, going here, doing there, my life is constantly evolving and I'm becoming a better man constantly. So when I'm feeling down and I zoom out, I realize that again. I zoom out and I look at my life 20 years ago or 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was competing in the UFC, actually, if I think about it now, 10 years to the day. So I was hitting a peak. I wanted my athletic quest and something that I was doing, but then I could look at my family life, I could look at my financial life, I could look at my mental state, I could look at, how I view the world and my perception. It was very, very small, how I have grown over the last 10 years. And I can only compare myself to myself. I can't compare to other people because it's just a rabbit hole that you're never going to win. You can't compare yourself to other people because it does no positive for you. So I just compared myself to 10 years ago, to 5 years ago, to a year ago. Have I made progress in my life in a certain way that can spur me forward? And again, if the answer is no, the best thing to do is to look and cultivate that man that you want to become and put yourself on a 100-year scale. This is something that I've been doing recently, and I believe is super important for making decisions on your future. If I think the most influential people in the world, they look at the world, the state of affairs and everything that's going on, and they look on a 100-year scale. So they think, something that I do today, how is that going to positively impact me in 100 years? How is that going to change my life for the next 100 years? If it's not going to, why would I do it? I want my life to improve now, but I set myself on a path that in 100 years I will thank myself. And that comes down to when there's a lot of people watching, maybe they work 9-to-5 jobs. So it's an easy example. Work 9-to-5 jobs, or they're out of shape. So, okay, you work a 9-to-5 job, you don't want to work a 9-to-5 job, then you have to make a decision today that is going to put you on a path that is going to get you off that 9-to-5 job. So maybe that's going to be learning skills, or it's going to be doing something that can, cultivate an environment where you no longer have to work this job. You can become your own boss, whatever it's going to be. So small little thing, small little change. Fine. Same with being in shape. I want to get into shape. I'm fat. I'm obese. I'm out of shape. Okay, I'm going to make a decision today that I'm going to do forever for the next 100 years that is going to make sure that I get to being in shape. Maybe that's going to be, cutting out a certain food group that you shouldn't eat. Lowering my sugar, not drinking alcohol, whatever you're going to make that decision, it should be something that will positively impact your life for 100 years. That's the way that I like to make decisions. I like to think when it comes to content. Now I'm creating loads of content. And when I thought about it, I had to put a lot of steps to get that into action. I had to get a whole studio. I had to do loads of things. The steps I had to take, every step, I look at it in 100 years. And I think there's going to be no negative outlook on me making content for myself for 100 years. Every podcast I do, every video I do to you guys, I'm talking to myself, and I can look back at it in 100 years and see how much I've grown. And I can also get better at this format, and I can see how much better I'm getting week on week, year on year. And I can understand that there's no negative to creating this for 100 years because it's going to be here forever. Might be quite embarrassing when I look back at it, but that still is going to add positively to me. If I'd never created any content and I never did it, in 100 years I never did it, and there's no positive, there's no negative, there's nothing to it, right? So I think making decisions based on a 100-year timescale is a very, very simple way to start making good decisions. If you start thinking, do I want to do this thing? And a lot of people might say that our life's about experiences and you want to experience things, and maybe I'll be on my deathbed and I'll be like, I should have done that thing. Okay, cool. If that's your reasoning, go for it. But I don't think going to a club or taking drugs is something you're going to thank yourself for in 100 years. If you did it every day for 100 years. If you go to the gym every day for 100 years, trust me, you'll thank yourself. If you don't drink alcohol, if you don't eat sugar, or you'll thank yourself. So that makes it easy. I think if you work on whatever the positive is in 100 years, how many negatives are there from making that decision? And you can compare the two. So again, going back to what the whole video is about, because I always go out on tangents and stupid random thoughts and tell stories. But if you're struggling at the moment and you're trying to think of you have to change the frame that you're looking at life in. You have to change your direction, your perspective. The best way to do that for me is to zoom out from your life and look at where you started, where you come from, where you are. And if you are not developing at the rate that you want to develop, then you have to start making decisions that will help you develop better and change. They can be tiny, tiny decisions, but you have to start today making those decisions that you will thank yourself for in 100 years, not 5 years, not 10 years, not 20. In 100 years, will you thank yourself for making that decision? That is how I like to look at things, how I look at my financial situation, how I look at my physical situation, how I look at my mental situation. Will I thank myself for this decision in 100 years? And for me, it's paid great dividend, and it will continue paying great dividend, I believe, because I'm looking at life over a very, very long time scale, and I think that's what the most influential people in the world are doing. Obviously, there's big rocky moments in between, and things go on, and life is life, right? So it's not the answer, but that's my outlook, and hopefully that can help you as well. I think if you are struggling, reaching out to people is a great idea, but don't reach out to strangers and people that you don't know. Maybe sometimes that can help. Try and speak to people that know you and understand your situation. And if they're not giving you the advice that you need, then there are people that can help you. But don't set those spells by always putting yourself in a victim's mentality and always saying everything is your fault, bro. You have to remember that. Everything going on in your life is down to you. No one else can fix your problems except you. So change the perspective on your life, look at it from a different angle, and try it for a while. Try being this guy, something different. If you have to lie to yourself and pretend, do that for a while. There'll be something that can click and that can change, that can help you. Rather than reaching out and trying to look externally for the results that can change your life. Externalities aren't going to do anything for you. You have to look internally at your situation and try and change your own perspective. I'm going to finish on one thing because I just thought, this might go on for a while, but again, I believe that in our lives we have three perspectives, if you want to call them perspectives, but I think we live this life in three different realms. We live it in a physical realm, which is like my body, like I can feel and see things. I'm tactile. I understand X, Y, and Z. So that's the first, like, if you asked, who are you? What are you? You can look at it in three ways. You are your body. You are physically your body. So your body, what you touch, what you do, what you act. Like I said, when I lost my voice, me physically speaking helped direct my mind. Okay, so that takes us into our second form of living, which is going to be our mentality. It's going to be our mind. It's going to be our thoughts. But are you only your thoughts or are you only your body? You're not just one or the other. You're both combined, right? So you're going to be your physical body. You're going to be your mind, your brain, your thoughts. We are something that's always confused me, or that I've always thought about, is the fact that your mind can think things and your body can do those things, but your body can have intuition and tell your mind that, no, I feel we should do this. So they communicate between each other. And then the thing that makes the final decision on your life, in my opinion, is the other thing, the external thing that's outside of your body and outside of your mind, which is almost like something hanging over you, which I like to call your will, or, your understanding, or you can say it's your spirit, or you could say whatever you want it to be. So number three is the director. It's the guy that controls everything else. Because if you think in the morning, say you're getting up at 6 o'clock and it's cold and your body feels warm, so your body is recepting and it's feeling warm, and your mind is feeling sleepy and comfortable and all that sort of things. The thing that tells you to get out of bed and go to work or go to the gym is your will, the third guy telling you how to live your life. So I found it interesting that your mind can ask your body questions, and it can also ask your will questions. And I think the quality of your life is depicted by the questions that you ask, the questions that you ask your body and the questions that you ask your will. Your mind is the one asking those questions, and then they're the ones that are answering them. So if you feel comfortable, you can say to your body, how do you feel? Okay, I feel great. You can ask your will for direction, like, what do I need to do today? And then you'll get answers. So I've always found it crazy to me that you can ask your own mind, like you can ask people questions and they give you answers, but you can ask yourself questions and you can get so many different options and so many different answers. And the person that decides the thing that you're going to do is this guy behind you, your will. So again, how you communicate between yourself with these three parts of your soul or your body or whatever you want to call it, those three things, how they communicate between each other, is if you are happy or if you are sad. That is the thing that dictates the quality of your life and how good your life is. It's nothing external. It's how you talk to yourself between these three facets of your life. And the quality of the questions that you ask yourself, they are what improve or improve. I don't know what the word is, but that makes your life worse. So you either improve your life or you make your life worse by the quality of the questions that you ask. And that is going to be, every morning I wake up and I ask myself a question. I try and ask myself a positive question and I get given an answer. And the quality of the questions that I ask and how I think about things, that's how my life improves. So if you're in a bad spot, start asking yourself better questions, start communicating with yourself better, and just see how it helps. Just try it. Just try it for a month. Start asking yourself better questions. Start talking about yourself in a good light. Don't question yourself. Don't be negative about yourself. Don't say negative things, and just see that upward spiral begin to happen, because you are putting yourself in a positive place, and you are building self-belief from that. Yes, there are going to be things that come in and try and waver you from this, and that's where you have to be able to sit down and communicate with yourself. That's where practice comes in, and that's where, having mechanisms in place to keep you on track come in. But you can build all those. Just start today by speaking to yourself better and see how it helps. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I don't sound crazy. Hopefully you enjoy it. Hopefully there's something from here that you took, and we'll catch up soon.